have you.
So it seems like in my garden, spider mites are very prevalent, especially with boxwood. So I'm gonna have to treat these boxwood before the weather gets too hot, because I don't want the foliage to get crisped up. I mean, I just love my boxwood, but I just can't give them up. It's just that this spider mite issue is so prevalent. So what I've been doing is adjusting these boxwood, okay, so that we have more of a straight line, so that the hedge looks very uniform. But these boxwood are taking a little bit too long to form this hedge. So the extra boxwoods that I had from the herb garden, I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of shift these a little bit closer, so that we get a hedge a lot quicker. So we got about 3 to 5 inch proximity between each bush. That's good. Within a year's time, those will touch, and so on and so forth along the line. Now right here, this actually was a very young bush a year and a half ago. So that's perfectly fine. I think it does need some BT treatment though, because I see an early onset of whitefly. No. I see an early onset of spider mites. See? Leaves like this. And if you were able to focus overall on the bush, you would see small branches, not huge. That's why I said it's early. Dieback. You see dieback. You see slight discoloration on some of the leaves. See, it's not as glossy and shiny green as it should be. It has a little bit of a bronze tinge. Now, granted, some of this could have been winter damage, so I don't want to be too hasty and jump on what I think the culprit is. But I just know in this garden I have spider mites, especially on the boxwood. So this neighboring boxwood right here, you can kind of tell fading leaves, very hairy speckles, hairy speckling on some of the leaves. That's pretty much spider mites. So I need to come in here and treat this entire hedge. Some of my hedges are doing a lot better than others. This right here, it's more pronounced. You can really see that fading in the leaves and the little specks that I was telling you guys about, a little discoloration and speckles in the leaves. That's an indication of spider mites. I would say my arm is roughly 1.5 to 2 feet. That's a little too wide. So what I'll do is bring this neighboring bush a little bit over and adjust the rest of the, what is it, 3? You got 1, 2, can't focus. But anyway, the other 3 I'm gonna pull in a little closer. Here goes. Okay, so I'm fussing around with this one right here. It is salvageable. You know, you can see the discoloration in the leaves, like I was mentioning earlier, but it is salvageable. I'll treat it heavily with BT and fertilize it and monitor it. All right. So I think out of the 3 I have left, this is probably the best one. It's in the best health that we're gonna get. So. Now, you guys notice these little shrubs right here? They're actually perennials. They're not shrubs. These are calaminta, a type of nepeta, and they smell heavily. Smells like spearmint bubble gum. Perfect. Throw a little plant tone in there. Let's get this baby planted. See that? Remember I was talking about 5, 6, maybe 7 inches tops space in between. So that's relatively attractive. So we're talking about probably 4.5, 5 inches. I've really got to prune this carpet rose. All right, so before I go any further, gots to prune this carpet rose. I mean, seriously. I think it's an oh so easy, variety. Now the reason I'm not using shears, okay, or electrical shears is because all the clippings and debris will fall all within the bed, and I don't have time to clean out anything that's entangled in the rest of the bed. So that's why I'm taking them out limb by limb. All right, now doesn't that look much better? Much more airy. So that big mass was just 2 carpet roses, believe it or not. 2 carpet roses. And behind that is a grouping of calumet. So what happens, let me give you a little bit of, I guess, reasoning for this design here. Of course, I've got the boxwood hedge, which always kind of outlines a space or a design or a garden bed. In this case, I put a lot of calumet as a ground cover in here. So midsummer, it's a sea of white. White, very dainty, small white blooms, and it smells heavenly. So I've got some back there, as I've mentioned. There's some behind this hedge. I think a few had fizzled out because it's just gotten way too congested in this area. So it was a good idea to go ahead and thin these roses out. That'll give everything else here some breathing room. So I went through all of that as I was working on this hedge. So I'm gonna jump back right into it. I'm gonna go ahead and shift this one over a few inches, okay? And then I'll plug in one of my extras somewhere within that vicinity, and that should complete my maintenance on this hedge. All right, I know it looks like a mess because there's a lot of stuff going on. All right, guys. So at a later date, I'll go ahead and decongest that grouping of carpet roses over there as well. Those are all white roses. Some of them have started to revert back to a pink hue. Not sure what that's about, but I'll just roll with it. I see a weed. I'd say about an hour and some change was spent pruning those 2 carpet roses over there. So that kind of put a monkey wrench into my my plan here. But as you can see, with only one boxwood touching up against this border, I think we're pretty good. The rest of the season I can just go ahead and prune the boxwood, and that way they will kind of mend or merge into each other a little quicker. So the trick with boxwoods is, believe it or not, to promote aggressive growth, you have to prune. So in this case, you have to kind of figure out what type of hedge do you want. Do you want a flat top hedge? Do you want a rounded hedge? Me, I kind of want both. More so a flat top hedge. So what I'll do is go ahead and shear all of these boxwood down to a relatively similar height, okay? And also I'll shear the front part, and I'll leave the back part to stay a little woolly. What that'll do is promote growth outward, okay? So the interior part of the hedge, these boxwood will grow into each other a little quicker. All right, now we got this done. I'm gonna go ahead and make up a mixture of diluted BT solution and saturate all of these boxwood, because this spider mite situation is getting just a little bit out of control. All right guys, so before I show you this completed hedge, right here you see 3 little green specks. Those are white swan echinacea. I actually had them still in a winter sown jug that I just found, and luckily they were still alive. They're pretty tough. That one's really tiny, right there, and there are the other 2. These should grow pretty rapidly. I know they're closely spaced, probably 7 inches tops, which is fine. It'll just form a nice white clump of echinacea underneath this. This is a summer wine 9 bark right here. It really loves where it is. So yeah, so here's the hedge. I think I got roughly 16 boxwood, various cultivars. I showed you guys the green velvet earlier. I'm sure there's winter jam and all sorts in here. So here's the rest of the hedge. I guess I can show you guys since I have you here. I went ahead and plugged in 3 groupings of dahlias. So I've got this group right here. It's got border decorative serenade, Kogana, Fubuki, interesting names. I got 2, so that'll form a little cloud of that right there, with this yellow of the serenade as in the foreground. And then I've got this, this is Kevin Floodlight. All right, that's how they look. So it's gonna be a nice little grouping right here. Since I'm already into bed, this second grouping right here, it looks like I got some holes dug from an animal. I don't know if it's a snake or what, but as you can see, there's a hole dug after planting my dahlia. So let's cover that back up. This one right here is a cafe au lait. Another cafe au lait next to it. This one here is Rebecca's World. Okay. It's gonna look beautiful with the cafe au lait in the background. And this 9 bark right here is a, this is a ginger wine. So it looks like the ginger wines are a little darker in color, and the summer wines are a little, oh look, somebody decided to totally dig up my dahlia. You know, and this is why I really have resorted to planting all my dahlias in raised beds with the bottom lined with chicken wire, just because of this. So I'm really trying to defy the odds, or I'm just being stubborn and silly. But we're gonna go ahead and put this baby back in here again, because look, they didn't even eat it. They didn't even eat the dahlia. They just wanted to be jerks about it and dug it up. So let's cover it a little bit better. Okay, that's about an inch underneath the soil. It'll poke its head out in a couple of in several days. Over here is Bananas Foster. I tell you, they're so disrespectful, ain't they? Bananas Foster, they left it alone. Yeah, this clearly wasn't planted properly. It wasn't buried deep enough. And like I said, this over here is Rebecca's World. So I'll throw a picture up on the screen and see how they all look. And you can tell that they're pleasing contrasting colors. And over here, these are all still buried, apparently. These are all single flame, and let's see. Specifically, this one is Bishop of Dover. So you guys see that picture I threw up on the screen. Really pretty. This one here is Melody Swing. Kind of reminds me of Miss Brandy. So that's going to be right there. And these all top off around 2.5 feet tall tops. So that's the reason why I grouped them and put them over here at the end of this border. This one here is single HS date. That's a single HS date. And this is a single HS date. So you got 3 single HS dates in the back. Melody Swing and Bishop of Dover right here in the front. So that's going to look really nice right here. Next to it, I know I've got this bright sun behind me. This right here is a Blue Adder Salvia. Okay. Or Blue Adder Sage. No. Here's a sign right here. Blue Better Salvia. Let's get it right. So there's a grouping here. Behind that is Agastache, which hasn't started flowering yet. So I've been getting a lot of seedlings. And as you can see, there's seedlings all amongst the clump, because you know they seed very heavily. So that's the joy of having Agastache and sage, or salvia rather. That right there is a recently transplanted lilac. All right, something vulgaris. It's got the light purple blooms. It's gonna get significantly large in this area of the bed. It's gonna take up that space. All right, so I'm not gonna bore you guys with every item in this bed, but these were all recently, transplanted. I've got some pollinator activity on these catmint, all grown from seed. It's that bumblebee right there, getting real busy. Try not to disturb him too much. Look at that pretty ditch daylily right there. All right, guys. Off to other tasks in the garden. All right, guys, so now I'm gonna go ahead and apply that BT okay, on all of these boxwood. I know that I have spider mites in this garden as a whole, and I want to get ahead of the game. Some of these plants already have an infestation of spider mites, so I want to go ahead and saturate each bush. Starting with this one right here. It's best to do this in the evening. Right now it's after 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the reason you want to do this in the evening is because most of the pollinator and insect activity is kind of narrowing down. All right. So, yeah, you want to make sure you do this when everybody's, you want to make sure you're doing this when everybody's going to bed, so to speak. So I'm going to reapply this on a 7-day interval. So every 7 days, I'm going to come out here and apply this. Now, the conditions might not always be prime to putting this application on your plants because it might be really hot. Temperature can be very hot. You don't want to burn the foliage on your plants. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up all 16 or 17 of these boxwood and then talk to you guys at the end.